Okay. Um, Good evening, everyone. Once again, for those of you that recently or just joined, you are welcome to our fourth installment of the Repstar Get Better series and our first AMA session on a particular field in the Repstar community. For those of you that may not be members of the community, I'd like to take a little bit of time to tell you about Repstar. So Repstar is a community for sales and revenue leaders. These revenue leaders could include people in customer experience, data analysis, and the likes. As long as what you're doing involves pushing growth and revenue, you are welcome to the community. So in the community, we share ideas or tips on how we can improve in our various fields. We do know that there are different people that are working in different places, probably in the same fields, and no one person is a body of knowledge. So we do as much as possible to interact, share opinions and the likes. We also share job opportunities. It's an opportunity to network. We do know that some people have gotten jobs from this very community. I would like to highlight Mr. Akini Akidoye if he's still on the call. So yeah, that encapsulates not all, but a large portion of the things we do. We also share learning materials as well, and we recently did one for TileStack. I believe that most of you are part of the community, so you know what we did. So without wasting too much time, I would like to hand over the mic to our moderator for today, which is Mr. Emmanuel Opara. He'll be taking over from here. Emmanuel, over to you.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you very much, Uzoma, for that introduction. And welcome once again, everyone, to Repstar. Oh, yeah, okay. There's only one person that is clapping. I know go talk. If people need to clap, people need to clap. If you're not clapping, I'm not going to continue. Now, don't give me Michael. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. All right. Now you're talking. And that's my motivation. I need this year to continue. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can stop clapping. You can stop clapping now. You can stop clapping now. Thank you. All right. So welcome everyone to Repstar Ask Me Anything. I'm glad they told me that I'm not the one that is going to be answering the question. So it's not a question of you asking me anything. I'm going to be asking on your behalf questions to someone I know very well. So I'm not the one answering. And when they chose this title to ask me anything, I don't know what the person was thinking about, but the topic says, or the team says, ask me anything. So please, if you have any question, right, the title says, I'm giving you permission to ask what anything. But what I'm going to prioritize today will be on data, all right? Because we are all Repstar champions, all right? And one of the things that one thing we try to do around here is to make sure data makes sense to you as a revenue professional, all right? How can you use data to make business sense for yourself or for your own business, regardless of where your current role is? You're an MD, you're a CEO, you're a marketer, you're a salesperson, whatever your role is, as long as you are tied one way or the other to revenue, how does data make sense to you? So today I have the golden opportunity to ask a very good friend and brother and professional as well, Mr. Paul. Please, before I even mention his second name, please, you need to start clapping at this point. If I need to be seeing the clap coming, let's clap start rolling in. Mr. Paul. I'm waiting for the full round of applause before I mention his second name. All right, so Mr. Paul Dakum is going to be our guest for today, and he's the one that will be answering all your questions, not me. Okay? So, Paul, can you please do the honors and introduce yourself at this point? I get one question I want to ask you since last year, Shabot.
Wow, thank you very much, Emmanuel. I wish this is how they used to introduce me when I enter my house. I think things would be, would be a lot Hello, Twitter.
All right, all right.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, Emmanuel. As he mentioned, my name is Paul Dakum, and I am a data leader. These days, I've been, when I meet people I want to impress, I tell them that I'm a data solutions architect, and that kind of, thank you, Tyra. And so a data solutions architect is basically someone that um, provides insight or answers from a data perspective. I have been working in the data space for about 14 years now. And so I've gone through the entire stage of data positions. I started off as an intern at a research organization, and then I became a data junior data analyst, basically. And then I became a senior data analyst and became a research analyst. I became a data scientist, and now I lead a data team for an agri-tech company. And what we do is that we help small-scale farmers save enough to be able to afford produce for the planting season. So they save in small amounts from as little as 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira, but consistently until they are able to get enough to buy seeds and fertilizer and the likes. And so I lead the data efforts at that organization. So that is a little bit about me. Today we're going to be talking a lot about data. And as the topic says, harnessing the power of data. It's basically what can you do to generate insight using data. At whatever stage you are, whether you are a novice, you have zero experience in dealing with data, all you know is that data is a thing and a lot of people are talking about it. But then you want to know more, we will touch on that. If you are just getting into the field of data and you want to know how to get to the next level, we can talk a little bit of that. If you are an expert in the field and you have questions about what next, what do you do? How do you solve some challenge that you're having? If you're a founder and you want to understand, the breadth and the depth of what data can do and how to harness it, this is the space that we're going to be that will at least point you, at the very least, point you in the right direction.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that. For that very wonderful introduction. And as Paul has rightly said, um, any questions you have today, be it a in beginner one, a novice one, an expert one, bring it on board and let's talk about it today, okay? But to get us started today, I would like to explain to us all how the format of today's session will go. Today is going to be very interactive. I mean, there's no need muting your mics all through. Well, there's a time when you have to unmute your mic to ask some questions. You can also drop your questions in the chat box, and my colleague is going to help pick up. My co-moderators are going to help me pick up those questions and share with me that I can ask Paul those questions as well. So if you have any question as we go along this conversation, right? Please drop it in the chat box. If you have anything at any point in time, you can also raise your hand and I'll try to pick it up from there. Also, if you want to join in the conversation, if it's getting too boring for you and you want to switch it up a little, you want to change it up a little, please call my attention to it. I'll be more than happy to listen to you. Okay? There is no wrong question to ask today. Ask the question and we'll do our best to give you the answers that we have. Okay? Thank you very much. So to get us started, all right, Paul, I happen to know you working in data for a very long time. But do you consider yourself? That will start with this one. Do you consider yourself an analyst or a scientist? Let me start with that one first.
Yeah, thank you for asking this question as the very first question, Emmanuel. To be very honest, I consider myself a data analyst simply because that is my comfort zone. in the data field. I've held different positions at different levels, but to be very frank, if you just give me a data set and open an SQL platform and just let me do something, I think that is where I have the most fun. So personally, I will consider myself a data analyst. I have some qualms about data scientists, but maybe this is not the avenue
This
for
one you have
that.
any further, yeah.
But yes, I would personally consider myself a data analyst. But in general, I would say that I would consider myself a data student. No, not just a student of data, but a student of life. But in this scenario, I consider myself a student of data because the field is ever changing. It is changing so fast that I have stopped bothering with trying to keep up with all of the new transformers and the new technologies that are coming out, because you can start feeling like you don't know anything. The moment you master a skill or a technology, next year they are bringing out something called no code, and you are wondering, so did I waste all of my time learning how to code when there's somebody that doesn't know anything about coding is getting the jobs that I have? And so I've tried to take one step back and kind of look at the bigger picture and learn about the space. How is it developing? Theorize about what the future of data in the world and what the future of data in Nigeria, where I'm at, is like. It's an interesting thought experiment. But again, that is a conversation for another time. So yes, I've answered your question. Sorry, I took the longest route, but I consider myself more of a data analyst.
Thank you very much for that. I think you that this particular answer you gave me today, I'm very sorry. This answer didn't come from today. It's actually, as you said, from quite a long thought you've had around this, right? I could sense that from the response that you gave. All right. So in that case, since you've been able to give yourself this thought experiment over these years, then how then did you get into the point of you talked about starting out as an intern? How did you get to that particular position? Did you wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to the office and I'm looking for a job and what I want to do is data, all right? Or you stumbled upon it, or how exactly did your journey start out in the data space?
Well, I didn't always know about data. In fact, when I was in university, one of the things I wanted to be was an actuary. I don't know how many people know what actuaries are, but I have a background. My undergraduate degree is in mathematics, and actuarial science was the hot job back then. And maybe some people were not yet even in secondary school then, but back then, before the hype of data science and AI, before they all became buzzwords, there was a thing called actuarial science, and actuarial science is like deep statistics, using deep statistics to understand, things like product pricing. You can just look up actuarial science and you'd see that I don't know if they still make a ton of money, but they used to make a ton of money back in the day. And so that is what I initially wanted to be. But I took the first actuarial science exams. It's a series of 9 exams in your career. By the time you reach the 9th exam, you are already a top dog, even before then. So I took the very first exam and I failed it woefully. I didn't even nearly pass, completely failed it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm not meant to be an actuarial scientist. And so I graduated from school trying to look for a job, and fortunately, I got a position as an intern in a research organization. The idea was to get me into epidemiology. And so I was shadowing a lot of researchers, but I was working under a data analyst that was doing research on viral diseases from HIV to tuberculosis to cancer to, all of these kinds of diseases in Nigeria. And so they during the interview they asked me if I knew what a p-value was. And in school, yeah, we had dabbled a little bit around it, but we used hand and calculator to calculate it. And so they said, okay, do I know how to use Excel? Do I know how to write SQL? I said yes to Excel. I didn't really know that much SQL. But I started, and one of the very first tasks that they gave me was to take a list of patient IDs and remove IDs that had a certain characteristic and then submit the remainder. I didn't even know that was what I was doing. They just gave me a list and told me to run specific tasks. Whatever the output was, I should send it to my boss. And I didn't even know that I was really writing SQL at that point. I was just doing a bunch of tasks. But in trying to do those tasks, I started wondering, okay, this entire process is manual. Isn't there a way to make it more automated? Isn't there a way to speed this up? I didn't want to do all of that work. And so I started looking, okay, this platform that I'm using, how do I um, how do I know what else it can do? And that's how I started researching into SQL and what it is and what you can use it for. And I started iterating on the process that I was giving, and it sparked a serious curiosity in me that I could just write out a set of instructions, and the computer would do the rest. And so that's how I became interested in data. Now, fortunately, I guess fortunately for me, my supervisor left the organization. And so obviously they were going to hire somebody to take her place. But she was in the middle of a lot of projects, and I was the only person that had any sense of what she was doing. So they said, okay, I should hold the fort until they get a replacement. And so I took that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to get a full-time job. And so I did it as best as I could, and I was able to get her position. But I was just more of a data manager, preparing sheets, preparing data sets of different patients with different characteristics and submitting it. We already had a data analyst. He was not even using SQL, he was using SAS. SAS is not very popular now. A lot of languages have taken over from SAS, but he was using SAS. And so about maybe a year into that job, that data analyst quit. He left the position. And so my new supervisor called me in and gave me the guy's laptop. And he said, this laptop has a lot of SAS code in it that is doing a lot of important things. We don't need you to learn SAS. We just need you to learn how to run his programs and give the output that is needed. That is how I got into programming with SAS. And it was very exciting. I'm very curious and a little bit imaginative. And so looking at this data, especially even able to see the patients that are behind that data, it was very interesting to me. And so I just dove into it. And that is just, one software after the other, one platform after the other. And countless mistakes later, I was able to really refine the skill that I have today.
Okay. That's I think you answered my next two questions with that one answer. You answered my next two questions with that one answer. So thank you very much. I mean, what you pick? I picked up a few things from there, but I'll try to break it down for my listeners today. But before I even do that, I just want to be sure people are still with me. So please, if you are still with me, with either your thumbs up or whatever it is, kindly just do it. Show something so that I know that you're still with me. All right. Okay. Now, if anything that Paul has said so far is not clear at all, just use another emoji apart from the thumbs up. Something else apart from, just use another emoji. That's what Paul has said so far. Honestly, I don't know. So, okay, good. Thank you very much. All right. So, Paul, right? I got what you said. And again, I understand to an extent, but I want to break it down to my listeners today. Okay. So, I want to see if we can bring what you said home. All right. You said you started out your journey by first your interest in actuary science, right? And I'm not going to have to quote the other part which you mentioned about the test, okay? But what if I'm to put that together in today's terms? Do I need to be interested in actuary science to delve into data analytics today?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
All right,
If you get the
fantastic.
chance, anybody that is listening, if you get the chance, just search actuarial science. And if you see the words they are using there, even YouTube, you are not going to want to go near it. It's really high level statistics, and because I was a math major in school, it was very exciting to us, being able to apply all these very complex statistical ideas and theories and formulas to predict, essentially, to be able to understand how things that seem natural, how things that seem normal actually occur. That was very interesting. But if you are trying to get into, let's say, for example, you are absolutely not in the data space. You're not a data person, basically. You
Yeah.
are in a completely different field, and you're like, you know what? I don't necessarily want to be a data analyst, but I want to understand how data can help me do my job better.
Good, good,
Before
good,
we
good.
even get into the programming and the visualization and the analytics and all of that, the very first thing I would say, which has helped me, and I've told a couple of people that I think it has helped them as well, is that the very first thing is that you have to be curious. You have to be curious about data that is presented to you. No matter how stupid or dumb or inconsequential the questions that you have are, you have to be curious about it. Don't just ask the questions, but wonder about the questions. Like, think about the questions from different angles. Why is it this way? What made it this way? Are there plenty things like it? Is there a history of this happening? You just bombard your mind with all of these questions and be generally curious about what it is that you are being presented. If you are a salesperson, for example, and you are looking at all of your leads, and you find that, you know what, it takes on average 2.5 months for me to close a lead. Now, that is a data point, that is a metric. Why does it take 2.5 months? Which other salespeople, is everybody the same? Does every salesperson take this amount of time? What exactly is taking the most time in these 2.5 months? And just keep wondering, why does it take a lead 2.5 months? You're not just looking at it from your data's point of view, you're also looking at it from the customer. Why is it taking them 2.5 months? What is their thought process like? Are they just forgetting? Is it only when I remind them that I see some kind of engagement or progress on this lead? Be curious about every metric that comes around you. The next thing is that you have to be creative, not just wonder about the question, but be creative in that wondering. If you want, paint a story of what you think was the likely cause of the number that is before you. Ask that question. Think, a lot of people would say think outside the box, and it sounds like it's generic and overused, but approach it from different angles. Talk to somebody that is knowing sales. In this our example about the time to close a deal, talk to somebody that is knowing sales and get what their perspective on this is. You might not get somewhere, but you might. And so you have to be very creative in the way you approach even the basic asking of questions. The third thing is that
Okay,
you need to know. Sorry, this is the very last one. The
no
last
problem.
thing is that you need to know how to communicate and express a lot of these your thoughts. They're not just going to go from mind to mouth. A lot of people may not pay attention to it, but know how to communicate and who to communicate it to, because sometimes you might see something interesting in the data, but you are telling the wrong person. You need to understand how to communicate the problems that you have or the possible insights that you have seen in the data. That is why I tell a lot of people that if you're not in data, you need to be friends with people in data, especially if you want to get into data.
Okay, good, good, good. We're talking today about harnessing the power of data. So thank you very much, Paul, for that. I think you also went ahead to explain. You went ahead of that as well, which is good. So what I was trying to derive from that is You don't have to be interested in actuary science first in order to know or use data analytics today. All you need to have, as Paula just rightly said, is you need to be curious about what is in front of you. Your business is making 5 naira today. Why am I making 5 naira today? What is the, ask the question. I think Paul use that statement here. Ask the why, right? Let me simplify it that way. Ask the why behind that. Why did I make 5 naira today? If you are able to answer the question reason why you made 5 naira today, you can then take it a step further tomorrow and say, okay, if I did this today, can I duplicate it tomorrow? Then you're already using data to make informed decisions for yourself. Okay. Paul also mentioned some things which I'd love to ask you a question about. You talked about some tools. You talked about Excel, SQL, and by the way, SQL here is structured query language. You don't have to worry your head about that. You talked about statistics, for instance. You talked about SAS as another tool. Must revenue professionals know all these tools before they can start making sense of their data, Paul?
No, and thank you very much for bringing this. As if maybe you read my private notes, because a lot of these things are actually what I had taken down before this session. So thank you for really facilitating this very well.
Yeah.
If you want to get a better sense of data, there is no going around the mathematics aspect of it. But when I say mathematics, I'm not talking something grand and spectacular with complex formulas. The formulas might be a little complex, but you need to understand basic statistics. And I choose those words carefully. You don't need to go too deep. In order to get started, you don't need to go too deep, but you need to understand the basics very well. Understand the measures of central tendency, which is the fancy term for mean, mode, median, standard deviation, all of these terms. Just understand. You don't need to memorize the formula. Computers have done that for you. But understand what they mean, how they are calculated, what they look like in the real world. So if they say your average revenue per month in an organization, or let me use a different example.
Average order
Your
value.
average, no, that one is complex, Emmanuel.
Average order value. Okay,
Your daily active users. Let us use daily
okay.
active users.
All right, go
Say that
ahead.
you have an app, and that app has an average daily active user of 5,000 people. That is the mean number of people that are active on your platform. Now, what does that mean? That means on any given day, on average, 5,000 individual people pick up their phone, open your app, and do something. Some days it might be less than 5,000. Some days it might be more than 5,000. But in general, on average, you have 5,000 people that are active on your platform. Even just saying it out like that in your head gives you a slightly deeper understanding of what a mean is. And so if you get a report and they say average daily active users per month for this year, and you are looking at the bars, you are able to understand, okay, in January, we had 2,000, but by April, we had 7,000. So how many X, more than 3 times the number of people come. What happened? Why did more people come on average? Again, remember this an average. Then you need to know, what's the difference between the median and the average? And, can you just basically talk about all of these things? That's the first thing. I think I said too much on that. You need to understand basic statistics. You need to understand the basics of spreadsheets and databases. Now we're moving from completely novice where you don't know anything to you are a little bit in the field, you are interested, you are reading a little bit about it, you're looking into the possibility of getting into that field. You need to understand the basics of spreadsheets. How does the spreadsheet work? What is a work? What is a row? What is a column? What is a cell? And then the next level is, how does a database work? What are the relationships between tables in the database? What is a primary key? What is a foreign key? How do you normalize a column? All of these things, and on a basic level. Now, if you get up to that level, then the next thing is to learn how to write SQL, because SQL is just hiding the spreadsheet and telling you to tell the system what to do. On a spreadsheet, if you want to sort, You can select everything and sort by a particular column, and it's a lot of clicking. But if you are using SQL, you are just telling the system that this is what you want it to, this is the data you want to see, and this is how you want the system to treat that data. So it's a natural next step from understanding spreadsheets and databases to get into SQL. Once you actually reach the level of SQL, honestly, you can call yourself a data analyst, because that foundation alone is going to help you master a lot of other skills.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Paul, there's something that you mentioned right now, which I think, but before I want to mention to the house that if you have any questions at this juncture, please feel free to drop it in the chat box so I can pick it up from there, and or you can raise your hand so I can take from you as well. Okay. But there's something that you mentioned now, which I would love for you to help differentiate for the house, right? Because we're talking to revenue professionals here. I'm talking to MD, CEOs of some companies. I'm talking to digital marketers. I'm talking to salespersons. You talked about becoming an analyst, learning SQL, understanding the rudiments of databases. But Paul, be honest with me, be fair with me. As a salesperson, do I need to go and start worrying about databases? Or as an MD of a company, do I need to go and start worrying about the structure of a database, right? Is there a way we can separate the job of the data analyst now, and also you not even being a data analyst, understanding how your data works? I think you mentioned those two things now, but is there a way you can separate those two things for us?
Absolutely, I can definitely do that. And so now, if you work in an organization that has a data team, they are the ones that need to worry about the intricacies of how to get the insights. They would just present to you a final product that you would use to then ask the right questions. So the very first thing that I mentioned is that you have to be curious. If you are not a data person, but you want to be able to harness data, start practicing how to question the data. Be curious about what it means, why it is like this, and dump it on your data analyst. They give you a report or a dashboard, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, yes, this is my daily active users in a month. But could it be that there's a demographic of people that are taking up the chunk of this thing? Maybe it's by age. So you ask your data person, can we break this thing by age? I'm curious to see which age group is spending the most time on our platform. That is already questioning your data. And you see it by age, and you're like, okay, what if I want to see it by gender? And before you know it, you're doing back and forth with your data person. Now, you are not the data person, but you're asking the questions that will help that data person give you the product that will generate insight. And so you now will take that output from your data person and go to your boss and say, hey, our DAUs jumped from 2,000 DAU daily active user. It jumped from 2,000 to 7,000. But I noticed that the majority of those people, maybe 90%, 80% of them were females between the age of 17 and 24. That already is going to get bells ringing. If your boss is interested in that, he would be like, why is that? And you're like, I don't know, but I've been working with the data people. Maybe we can sit down with them and then have a meeting. Suddenly you are facilitating data discussions, but you're not even a data person. All you did was question the data and followed up. You see, they give you output. You don't understand why something looks the way it is. You ask a question. Sometimes you'd be surprised to hear, oh, sorry, that's a mistake. We didn't filter out people that have deleted the app. Something as simple as that. But it was you that facilitated that because you were asking questions. So yes, you're not trying to get into the data field, but you're trying to use data to gain insight, to understand how to do your job better. You will be curious about the data that is presented to you. You will ask questions, you'll be creative about it, and you will approach data people. You will know how to approach them. Again, all of these things is with practice. The more you do it, the better. You would reach a point where you have not even written a single line of SQL, but they could present you with data about your organization, and you would immediately say, that is wrong. No, that's not. Go and check your data again. This doesn't seem right. Simply because you are engaged with the data, you're asking the right questions, you're being friends with your data people. That is always a good thing. But you are engrossed in the data, even though, because it will make your job better. It will help you improve. It will show you patterns that you may not have seen, patterns that go across months. There's a thing about recency bias that you tend to just remember the activities of the last couple of months or the last couple of years. Say, for example, your organization has been running for 5 years, but all of your reports come on a month-by-month basis. And so you see this month's report. Another 4 or 5 weeks later, you see next month's report. And all of these reports are looking at just this month. You would, you need to train yourself to wonder, what does this data look like on a long-term period? And the more you practice, it's all about practice. Curiosity, yes, people can be born with curiosity, but you can also learn to be curious. A lot of people don't want to ask some of these questions because, hey, I'm too junior of a staff. What is my business? My own is just to make sure I'm doing my work well, or you feel like, no, I'm not in the data team, or I'm not in the management team. This is for management to handle. And maybe at some point we will talk a little bit about stakeholder management for people that are in the data team. But you need to know who to bring the discussion to, who can actually implement some change, who is going to pay attention to you. Sometimes your data people just want to rant about how dirty the data is. Listen to them. Say, man, that's so true. Oh, man, I really don't like when that happens. And before you know it, they are comfortable with you. And when you bring a curiosity to them, they will pay attention to you. People that are in the tech space can just form busy and tell you, this thing is going to take 3 months to do. Meanwhile, maybe it just required 20 minutes of actual attention to it. If you're actual friends with them, you have that relationship, they will pay attention to what you bring to them, especially if even them, they see that in the long run, this person is actually even helping me as a data person to be better at the work I do, because they're asking the kind of questions that I need for my job. I hope
Fantastic.
I didn't talk too much.
Fantastic. Oh, no. I think we're talking to revenue leaders here. I think that these are people that need to hear those things, right? I mean, hearing it directly from you, I think is equally important. So to put that nicely, what that then means is that you don't have to even be a data analyst by the title, right? To be a data user. I'm trying to use that word. I don't know if you have a better description for them. To be a data user, everyone can participate in this conversation. Everyone can use data, right, to make their business get better, regardless of the function that they participate in. I think I would like to cite an example here. I think you've mentioned it already. It doesn't matter the role you are playing, whether you are a marketer, a salesperson, or a customer service person, you are the MD, you are the CEO, whatever your role is in an organization, there is a way that thing you are doing today ties to the business, right? And there is a way one thing or the other is meant to impact one thing or the other in the business. I think the question you should always ask is, what the curiosity to police is talking about is, ask the question on how this thing impacts this, or how, if you talked about the salesperson closing a lead in 2 months, right? If you get to understand that you close leads in 2 months, what is impacting that, right? Being able to translate that to your own daily activity makes you, I call you a pro, makes you a better user of the, even if you're a salesperson, you're a salesperson that is not working with data, right? If you're a digital marketer, you're a digital marketer that is not working with data. If you're an MD, you're an MD that is making decisions with data. Do you understand? So data is not supposed to be for just one profession, which is the data analyst. We need them, we recognize them, but you also need to participate in that conversation that is data driven, that is data related. All right.
And if I can add a little bit in line with, thinking outside the box, I want you to also think beyond tech. Data
100%.
doesn't just apply to tech companies. If you have a food business, if you make outfits, if you sell a product, if you run a restaurant, all of these different businesses, data is important, and all of the things that I've mentioned today apply to all of them. A lot of people believe that data is for tech companies because tech companies are the ones that talk about data the most. If you run an NGO, if you have a foundation, if you are a consultant that works independently, all of these professions, you can collect data that you would actually use, data that you would apply formulas to, and you would get insight for your business. Say, for example, you have a restaurant. There are some things that people don't pay attention to when you're running a restaurant. In this example, for example, how much time does each customer spend in my restaurant? Say, for example, you actually took the time to collect that data and you spent 1 month and all you had one of the waiters timing how much time did each customer from when they walked in to when they walked out. What number is it? Is that the number you want? Let us say it is 70 minutes on average each person spent. How do you feel about that number? Is that the amount of time do you want people, do you believe that if they spent more time, they will spend more money? Now you have a little experiment on your hands. You collected data and you saw that on average, each customer spends 70 minutes in my restaurant. If I got them to spend more time, will they spend more money? And you now go to whatever team is in charge of, whatever team, if you are solo, you will now say, okay, what things can I do or add to my business that would make people spend more time? Because I have a hypothesis that if they spend more time, they will spend more money. And so you look at the average time per month or per week or whatever that people spend at your restaurant, and you look at your revenue and you see on days that they spent more time, did I make more money? If not, then you're like, oh, the amount of time they spend at my restaurant doesn't really factor into how much money they will spend. So then you can tell yourself, you know what, I need to make them spend as little time as possible to open up that table for another person to come and sit down. That is just one example of using data to run your business. And you can create these kinds of scenarios for every other business. And so don't be just limited to, okay, I'm in the tech space, we're selling a digital product or doing some digital marketing. Let us collect data and analyze it. You can apply it to your life as well. Right now, I have a big spreadsheet of my expenses. Once I spend something, there's a spreadsheet that I document it. Once a week, I look at the debit alert on my phone, and I just document it. It takes less than 15 minutes a week for me to document it. But now I can sit down and chart what I'm spending on all of the different aspects of my life, on what I'm giving out to people, what I'm spending on food, what I'm spending on fuel, how much I'm spending on credits in the month. Is it going up? Is it going? To be honest, I've not gone back to analyze it because I'm like, you know what? Let it just become second nature for me to be collecting the data. I know that I will be able to gain some insight from it. You might see spikes in your spending. Some people do it for time management, where they catalog on their calendar when they are in a meeting, when they are not in a meeting, when they are in focus time. You can apply it to your life as well as to your business. So just putting it out there that it's not specific to tech and digital products, but you can apply it to almost anything.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. That's super awesome, and I like the fact that you even gave that particular example, the last example you just gave, which is about applying it to your life. And I remember very very well when I think I had a class last year where I asked a set of persons to go in to their personal finances, right? And everyone says I don't know where my data. Oh, not everyone. People say I don't know. I don't have data. I don't have data. I say, but you receive bank alerts, right? Just go to your bank alert and add a new column and call it my category of expenses, for instance. So I'm putting it to all revenue leader here today, whether you are whatever your role is, okay, for your business, for your personal life, go to your bank alert today, download that spreadsheet, right? And categorize your expenses and see what that is telling you as a person. All right. Start with that
You
simple exercise.
can hire me to do it for you.
Of course, we need to. We won't fail to mention that as well. We won't fail to mention that. Okay. So make that available to your own self. Use that to make some decisions. You don't have to cut on anything yet. Use that at least to understand As Paul said, be curious. They say curiosity kills the cat. I don't think curiosity is killing cats any longer nowadays. It's actually helping some people to make more money. Okay, so I think if you understand what is behind your data, right, or your business, can you understand your business from a data point of view? Is what I'm saying. Can you understand your life from a data point of view, right? Then you can then make some decisions that would make sense to you, right? So that's why when you're making some business decisions, some people are wondering why did they make that decision? It's possible that they looked at data and that's what made most sense, right? Why am I targeting somebody that is 15 years and above, where I should be targeting to people that are probably below this particular age group, and so on and so forth. Let data drive those kind of decisions for you going forward. So, but Paul, this has been a very interesting conversation. If you allow me, I'm going to do this for the next 24 hours. I know somebody's going to will soon ring my bell. But do I have the permission of the house to continue? Please let us know. Do I have your permission to continue? Because for me, I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm seeing just two thumbs up. I need to be sure that we have more people that are interested in having this conversation. All right, good, good, good. So, Paul, based on you've said so many wonderful things about data today and making it make sense to us as persons, right? But I I don't think is it all bread and butter? Is it all nice? Is it all nice and rosy? Right? What are the things that you're not telling us today around this whole data experience, either as a data analyst or as a revenue professional who just wants to use data? What are you not telling us yet? What are the things that I should expect, or what are the experiences that you don't like? From my experience as a data person, what should I
Thank
be
you.
worried about?
So you can look at it from two different angles. You can look at it from someone that is in the data space and someone that is not in the data space but wants to harness the power of data. It requires effort. It requires you to intentionally do things, to cultivate a habit of doing certain things, to change the way you used to do things and to start doing things in another way. And so that requires work. And in this day and age where there seem to be, maybe we should find a way to petition for more hours in the day because there is just not enough time to do all of these things. You already
Petition for
have
please.
the powers that be. You already have the job that you are doing. After all, your brain will start telling you, come, they're not even paying you to do this thing. Should be you pass the benchmark, you hit your sales targets last month. Why are you complaining? You are doing okay. Why do you need to start giving yourself more work? You give yourself that more work because it's going to elevate your skill, it's going to elevate your experience, it's going to elevate your position because it's helping you do your job better. So it's easy to know, but to implement it requires consistency. It's not going to happen after the first month of saying, I'm going to do this. It's like working out. You in January, it's when gyms have their best sales month because everybody comes in with the ginger. But you register, you have all of that drive, you will leave this AMA session saying, you know what, I'm going to become a data person, even if it is not by trade, but by involvement. I'm going to try to know more about data decisions. So let me find blogs and articles and start learning basics of things. And suddenly you realize that it's taking more than 1 hour in your day and you actually have work to do. How do you fit it all in? I'm not here to give you an answer. In fact, I'm here to tell you it's a challenge. It's not easy, but it requires consistency. You have to keep trying and find the way that works best for you. I can tell you about my experiences, but that is the way it worked for me, not necessarily the way it will work for you. So you need to be patient with yourself and with the process and continue seeking to know more to be better at understanding data. One thing I've noticed about a lot of the data people that I've interacted with is that they are excited to share more about what they do. You meet a data person and say, yo, I'm trying to break into data. What do you do? And before you know it, they're sending you links, they're giving you resources, they're telling you, oh, this is the platform that we use. You can learn how to create a dashboard using this, blah, 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 blah. If you want to know more, you will find the avenues to do so, but you really have to just will yourself to keep trying and not stopping when it doesn't work out. It's already proven that being more data aware is going to help you in general. And so just because you didn't get it right the first time or the first two times doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just requires you to continue trying to find a way that it works for you. So in the short version is that it's going to be a challenge, but you need to be consistent. And that is where a lot of people drop off. A lot of people have come and met me saying that they want to break into the data space. And I tell them, oh yeah, so these are the things that I think you should learn. These are some free resources online. If you have money and you're serious, these are some paid resources. But just start with this one, and when you finish, come back and let me know what you thought about it. And a lot of people don't come back. And it's not as if I'm saying, look at them, they didn't come back. It is a challenge. You have a lot of other things going on. If you're trying to pivot careers, which is even one of the harder ones, where you need to devote a lot of time because you're changing the direction of your career. You need to spend a lot of time. But you already have an existing career, and the way the world, or the way Nigeria works, it's going to be hard for you to say, how many people here will say, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and then I'm going to just learn how to do data. You cannot afford to do that. You're going to continue doing the work that you have, but you're trying to change careers. So it's going to be a challenge, but you need to be able to challenge yourself. And if it is important, you will do it. Food is important. Everybody will eat. Nobody will tell you, I'm very hungry, but I'm just not in the mood right now, so I'm not going to eat. Food is important to eat. So whatever you make a priority, you will create the time for.
Okay, okay. Then I think I would thank you very much, Paul, for that answer. And something I think we need to really talk about quickly. I think time is also not our friend any longer. Is there's something that has been going around lately. In short, I'll make it to a two-part question for you. Something has been going around lately, which is AI this, AI that. Does it impact or change anything related to data, either as an analyst or as a revenue professional? Where do you see this AI conversation, and how does it relate to the data space? All right. Then the second part of this question, which we can also take to be the roundup, is if I need to get started in any of these, either as a revenue professional or as a data analyst, where do I start from? Okay. So please take the first one before the other.
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing I would say is that I am expecting questions. Maybe I'll start adding some inconsistencies in what I say just to see whether you are paying
You're not going to
attention.
pass me with that one now.
I will just throw something in there, and then let me see whether you people will question what I'm saying. But if there is anything that I'm saying that doesn't make sense, it might be that I'm being too optimistic. Maybe you have tried and it didn't work for you that way. And you're listening here, you're saying this guy is just talking because he has already become a data analyst. If that is your concern, bring it up here. Let us shake that table and let people know. It's hopefully will be more of a discussion. It's not a seminar or a sermon, but more of a discussion. So if you have wondered about anything in the data space, it might not be serious. It might not be the biggest thing, but you've just wondered, again, curiosity. You've just been curious. What is even this thing? Like Emmanuel has mentioned all of this buzz about AI. That would have been a wonderful question, which I will now jump into. So yes, I'm hoping that I will get one or two questions from you guys. So start penning them down. If anything I say doesn't make sense, please remember to raise your hand up. So here we go. Okay, I will get to this AI question, but let us hear from Chima first. Please go ahead. You are on mute. I don't know.
Oh, hi, Paul.
Hello, Chima.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I'm pretty excited about this. I didn't even see the event coming, but I stumbled on it and I think it's been great so far. Your delivery particularly has been amazing, right? The reason why this is important to me is I'm a marketing professional, but I've come from the non-data side of it for a while. And sometime later in the year, I would be starting off interestingly, I'll be starting off my second master's degree, but this time around in marketing analytics, marketing and data analytics as it is, right? So this is me stepping into the data side of marketing from more the communication side. So I don't
That's
have
amazing.
any background in mathematics as it is, besides of course the fundamentals. Yeah. So I'm
Mhm.
still building that part. Now, major challenge. I'm trying to brush myself up before I get into the course, because ideally I know that the master's degree would be fast paced and it might not give a lot of opportunity to cover the fundamentals or the basics. I don't want to get lost or caught up
Mhm.
in systems that I don't understand. What would be the ideal place for me to start? What are fundamentals that I need to learn before stepping? Because unlike other people in this case, I don't already pay school fees, so I don't have a choice.
There's no going back.
There's no
One
going back at
chance.
this point. Yeah. So two things. Obviously, after this, I would like to have a more personal relationship so that we can discuss moving further, since I'm stepping into your space. But
Absolutely.
what are the basics that would be ideal for me to really brush up on before I
Sure.
start my paper course?
Thank you so much for that question. I'm getting a little bit too animated because I'm excited to really dive into that question. So permit me if you see a lot of hand waving on my video. But this is a very good example. This is somebody that you have domain knowledge, and that is one of the important. I'm very glad that you mentioned this because let me segue a little bit. There's one thing that a lot of people sometimes fail to pay attention to, and they feel as if they need to change their career in order to get into data. That is a misconception. You can keep the career that you have just like what you're doing. You are already in marketing, so you have domain knowledge. You understand all of the terminology that is in marketing. You understand all of the probably the metrics that are involved from outside the data space. You understand the metrics. I'm sure when I mentioned DAU, if you're in digital marketing, you would probably already know what that was. So you know the lingo, you understand how the field operates, not just from a data perspective. And that is what you're trying to do now. You're trying to incorporate the data side of marketing into your repertoire of skills. You don't, it's not as if you are changing professions. And this goes to virtually all, in fact, I remove virtually, it cuts across all domains. Every domain has a data arm to it. And so you don't need to leave what it is that you're doing in order to get into data. All you need to do is absorb the data arm of what it is that you're already doing. Now back to your questions, and I completely understand. I'll give you a short story. When I first got into data science, I saw a boot camp online, an online boot camp. It was very expensive. I was able to, get my benefactors to help pay part of it. And just like you, I had already paid. So I was like, okay, whatever this thing is, I have to learn it. And it was a crash course in data science. I didn't know how to write Python, but Python wasn't what they were teaching. Python was what they were using to teach the complex. So it's like learning calculus in French, and you don't even speak French, and the professor is out there, and he's speaking French and blasting it. And so not only don't you understand French, but you don't even understand calculus. And so you're already 2 degrees separated from what it is they are teaching. And that is exactly where I found myself in, where they were running programs and giving assignments in Python. And I had to try and quickly learn Python before I could even do the assignment. And I didn't do well in that boot camp. I'll just tell you now. I felt like back then, I felt like it was a waste of money. It really got me down because I used up all of this money trying to learn something that I was zero prepared for. And it has a way of dealing with your psyche. But there was a day that I realized that, you know what, I'm going to stop trying to understand what they're teaching. And I literally just went into the portal and downloaded all the course material. everything that they had given us as homework, all of it I downloaded. Up to today, I still have. It's called the Data Incubator and is run out of New York. I still have the folder called the Data Incubator with all of the coursework. And I was like, what I'm going to learn out of this is that these people have told me all the things I need to learn. I didn't learn it, but they have told me the things that I need to learn. So in order for that money not to be a waste, I'm going to carry myself, sit down here and learn how to do these things. And I will start, okay, so let's find introductory videos on how to run Python using the notes that I got from school, using YouTube. Don't sleep on YouTube. YouTube is such an educational resource. I can't even begin to tell you a lot of the professionals in varied fields that are YouTube students. Don't play with it. It can be a bit challenging to get all of these
I am
resources.
number one.
There you go. Thank you very much for speaking up. Yeah, there's a lot of people that it's from YouTube that they learned a majority. All of these things, you can find them on YouTube. You're just paying someone to gather them in one place and tell it to you. If you have that drive, you can go in and learn. So just to let you know that it's not a singular fear of not being ready, but I learned it after the fact, and thankfully you would be able to learn it before you get into it. Like you mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, you need to know the basics of statistics. You don't need to go deep. Don't let the fact that it is called statistics scare you off. It's basic mathematics. If you understand basic mathematics, you just need to brush up on an introductory course in statistics. And if you hit me up on LinkedIn, I can send you some of the resources. I've sent these resources to a couple of people. So in fact, one thing that I even go in stating that this person is not going to come back until they prove me wrong. So I'm hoping that if I send you resources, Chima, you're going to prove me wrong. But you need to understand basics of statistics. You need to understand spreadsheets and databases if you're getting into marketing analytics. Now, one of the things that you need to do is that you need to look at the course curriculum for the course that you are getting into. Understand if you are going to be using any platforms, what are those platforms? If you're going to be using any programming languages, what are they? Is it just Google Analytics based? Is there SQL involved? What are the tools that you're going to be using? The very first thing you need to know is how to use the tools. And so that would be what you would focus on. What tools is this course going to use? How can I download it, install it, create my profile, find a video on YouTube that will give me the basics, so that when your professor opens up Google Analytics and he's now saying, okay, so now you go to your audience tab and you do it, you are not just fumbling around. Before you know it, you tell you, hey, Mr. Chima, please, can you show these people how to do this thing? You seem to already have some experience simply because ahead of time, you downloaded it and played around with it. Click everything, as long as it's a test environment, click everything and see what happens. You might stumble upon, that's how I've stumbled upon so many things because I land on a platform I don't know how to use. I make sure I'm not going to break anything. And then I just start clicking all the menu options, everything. I say, oh, okay, this thing can do this. That's so amazing. If I see something, I don't know what it is, straight to YouTube, name of the platform, name of the thing that I saw. And there's resources that will tell you, oh, this thing is actually used for blah, 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 and they'll explain it to you. So one thing you can do is to look over, and actually, if you even want to go a step further and send that course curriculum to me, I can help you with some pointers as to, okay, this seems like this is what they're going to be teaching you in this course, so these are the kinds of things you're going to use if it is not explicitly stated. I hope that has kind of given you some form of a direction on where to go. Yes?
While
No?
he's trying, Emmanuel is back here. I'm using a different device at the moment. So while Chima is trying to get his mic
Yeah,
sorted.
sorry, it's technical
Okay.
glitch. Yes, it has. It has given me a lot of insight, especially going through the course curriculum to start from there and then basically learn from that point upwards. And I'm very happy to reach out. I already sent the LinkedIn request, but would
Great.
communicate there moving forward. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. One thing I'll also state, someone just posted in the chat that they have been using ChatGPT. Don't sleep on ChatGPT. It is your personal assistant that is versed in everything, almost everything. I cannot tell you the meaning of life, but it is versed in so many different things. And the same kinds of questions that you are asking here, these are the things that you can just jump in there and ask it. And the beauty, one of the revolutionary things that, to me anyways, about ChatGPT is follow-up questions, being able to continue a conversation with it, and it will know based on what you have asked it before how it should answer. So you can go wild on ChatGPT and use it as a resource. One other thing that I'll mention is that ChatGPT is not the only GPT out there. There's a lot that do so many different things, and I'm sure graphic designers will attest to the fact that these things can do a lot. So feel free to use all the tools at your disposal in order to reach the goal that you have in mind.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Paul, for allowing the community to ask you a question, or pushing them to ask the question. Please, if you have any further questions for Paul, we'd love to have this kind of indicate by raising your hand so we can take it. Or if you have a comment, maybe it's not a question, maybe you have a comment or you need a clarification on something, right? Anybody? Anybody? Because what I've been picking from Paul today has been you just have to be curious. Curiosity, curiosity, curiosity. You just have to be ready to ask those questions. You need to ask those questions. Okay, that's a
Great.
contribution. Use Perplexity in place of ChatGPT. Awesome. All right. So so Paul, there's something
I
you
have
talked
two
about,
questions,
right?
but I do have two questions. Thank you. They said Paul
Of
hasn't
course.
answered Emmanuel's question about AI.
Yes. So do you want to take that
I can
first?
quickly just go to, yes. So
All
like
right.
we just spoke about ChatGPT, we can just kind of segue into AI.
Yeah.
AI is a buzzword. It it
Yeah.
it has been around for decades. The technology behind it has been around for a long time. Statisticians have been running prediction models for a long time. I think even earlier than the 90s, they have been running prediction models. What has just happened is that technology and hardware has finally caught up to be able to expedite the predictions and the formulas behind it and all of the concepts behind it. We're able to put it all in, and it is working at almost light speed. And so it's giving it that natural feel. And that is what has become the big thing. A lot of people think that, and this might be a little bit personal opinion. A lot of people think that you can just jump into AI. You cannot just jump into AI. You can understand the field of AI. You can take courses that will teach you how to engineer prompts, which is a whole different thing from AI. You can take courses that will teach you about the technology behind AI. But to become something like an AI engineer, you have to have really gone through the fire, for lack of a better word, because it requires not just analytics but engineering, a lot of engineering. You need to understand the inner workings of predictive models, of machine learning models. You need to be able to download a Python package and dissect it and understand how it works. What is hyperparameter tuning? What are the different machine learning models that one can use? What is a random forest? There's a lot of things that go into what they call AI, which is basically just machine learning. And what the summary of it is, or the simplest version of AI is what they call linear regression. And linear regression is basically you have a lot of data, and so let's say, for example, you have data on your customers, and at the end of it, you have whether they renewed their subscription or not. And so you have their age, you have their location, you have their gender, you have their history with you on your platform, you have their average order value, you have, all of these different data points on all of your customers. And these are all your current subscribers. And you want to know whether they will renew their subscription or not. What AI simply does is that it looks at all of that data and say, okay, this person is in this age group, they are this gender, they are this, they are that, and it assigns, let me just use the word weights for simplicity. It assigns weights to all of these different data points. And it says, okay, based on historical data, this kind of person with this kind of data renewed their subscription. Oh, this kind of person with this kind of data, with this kind of history, didn't renew their subscription. And it goes one person at a time. It looks at their characteristics and whether they renew their subscription or not. Looks at their characteristics and whether they renew it. And you have this on thousands of people. And what machine learning does is that if you give it a new person, it looks at their characteristics and says, who in this historical data does this person resemble in terms of data? Who do their characteristics match the most? And then it will predict based on this data. Historical data has told me that this kind of person will renew their subscription or not renew their subscription. That is one of the easier ways to explain machine learning. So it uses historical data to be able to better guess what a new data point would be. So what prompt engineering is, or what this ChatGPT and other machine learning or natural language models do, is that you send it a string of characters. You can say, what do you know about Nigeria? And it is chock full of data from the internet, so much data. And all it does is it looks at the words that you have sent and compares it to multiple data sources that that collection or that combination of words aligns with, and then it gives you a response based on that. It's not somebody that is sitting or, yes, it is complex, but the idea behind it is very straightforward. So sometimes it will say, okay, you said what is, or what can you tell me about Nigeria? And it groups words and says, okay, so these groupings, where have I seen in the corpus, I think it's corpus of data that model has at its disposal. I hope this thing is not getting too technical, because the more I'm talking, the more technical it's
I
beginning
see
to
you
sound.
enjoy. I see you enjoying the explanation, and I'm just waiting for you to finish so I can break it down for my
Yeah,
listeners.
so
Continue.
let me catch myself a little bit. It's a technology. AI or machine learning is a technology that has existed for a long while. It has just been sped up recently with advancements in technology. Now these advancements are only going to get better. There's a
Yeah,
whole arm of science. I don't know if anyone has heard of quantum computing before. Quantum
yeah,
computing
yeah.
is a new form of technology that only very big corporations are able to even test.
Afford.
Creating a quantum computer can afford to test it. The idea is that, so right now computers work on ones and zeros. There's only one.
All right,
Something can either
all
be
right,
on or off, one or
all right,
zero,
all right.
basically.
Paul. Can I do something for you here? I'm
Yes,
going to
yes, please.
request. I'm going to request for you. I'm going to place this request to the RevStar community leaders. Please and please, I need to have another session with Paul, who again is in agreement. I need to have another session with Paul. Please indicate by raising your hand up that we need to have another session with Paul, right, to actually go into the technical bits of this conversation, because I see he's really enjoying this bit and he would love to explain further. But one thing I'd
Thank
love
you.
you to do for us, Paul, is can you help me draw the line then between the whole, because you mentioned something, I want you to simplify it for us now, that AI, would I be right if I say that AI is also data driven?
Hmm.
Hmm?
Well, yes. I mean, it is the fuel. Without
The
data,
fuel.
there's no AI. You have to actually have the data that the machine will be able to look at and be able to predict. And sorry,
Awesome.
there's one rant that has been at the back of my head. I swear it's going to just be like 1 minute. A lot of governments and organizations, they are paying more attention to the AI than to the data. And so,
Than the
you
data.
see federal governments will say, oh, we are bringing AI professionals from around the world to create an AI strategy. And it's the buzzword. So everybody's trying to get into it, but they don't realize that it simply starts with data collection. Just make sure you are actually collecting usable data, because
Data.
that is the
Okay.
foundation for almost everything that we've discussed today.
So then bringing it then to the Webster community, which is why I asked that question, is the same thing you have been trying to tell us since, is the foundation of all of these things for making informed decision is about getting the data, going through that mini tedious process of making sure you are dedicated to gathering the right data. We talked about earlier your bank statement for a good example, right? Before we can even talk about training an AI model, right? We can always talk about um you always have to talk about the first bit, which is gathering the data. And this gathering of data is something that you, as a revenue professional today, can start doing in your own space. Understand your customer, understand your business, understand your way of life, and then start making some decisions for yourself. When you start dealing with maybe billions of data set, then you can start introducing bigger systems to do such analysis for you at a faster scale. Paul, am I right by saying so?
Absolutely. You are
All right.
indeed right by saying so. I can talk more, but you know what? You are right.
Okay. No, I'm trying to bring it home, right? I'm trying to bring it
Yes, thank you
we
very
are going
much
to
for
get you.
catching
We
me.
are going to get
I
you
really
another
started
session. We're going to
getting.
get you another session. We're going to definitely get you another session. Someone asked a question, right? This is from Bukayo. What's your view on AI threatening human jobs? Should data analysts be scared? I should be scared right now. Should data analysts be scared? Right? What is your view on AI threatening the human jobs?
So the short answer is yes. You should be scared, because if something is monotonous, it can be replaced. But one thing that I know is that technology right now needs a human element to it. And if you see that your current job is being threatened by by AI, how can you evolve to incorporate AI into your job? Now, we're not talking about the future. We're probably talking about now. So you see, say, for example, you are a content creator, and in the marketing team, you are the one that creates the write-up for the organization to post on their socials, to do this. And you start realizing that almost AI can create all of the things that I spend 1 week trying to figure out how to create. AI is going to do it. Instead of being afraid that AI is going to take your job, be the person at the organization that incorporates AI into writing or creating your content. Become the specialist in generating prompts for that content, such that your organization, yes, they know AI can do that, but how many of them know how to actually generate a cohesive
Yeah.
prompt for that AI to create that content? Become that specialist, so your job is now going to evolve, that you are not the one that is manually creating that content, but you are in charge of telling the AI what content to create. The AI doesn't know the business, you do. You are the one that will know, when AI creates a prompt, this thing, it doesn't align with the way that we have been putting out our messaging. So let me either ask it to tweak, or I tweak it myself, and know the keywords to use. Prompt engineering is a whole new field. You can take short courses on how to prompt an AI system to give you the results that you want. There are some prompts that go as long as one entire page, and that is just prompt, and you are limiting it and focusing it on precisely what, and you are going through iterations and telling it what to change. If you feel that AI is coming to replace your job, adopt AI. It's like when a company sees a smaller company that is coming to threaten them, they buy that company and absorb it in. That is what you need to do. If you are a data professional and you find out that AI can now generate SQL code, instead of being afraid that AI is going to Become the person at the organization that when they ask you for analysis like this, you are presenting it because you have incorporated AI into your role. As it is right now, that is the best thing that you can do. That instead of being afraid of AI taking your job, embrace it as a new technology. The people that used to write with hand before, when typewriter came, they probably felt, oh, there's no longer use for us. But no, they would just simply learn how to use that typewriter to make their job better. When we were using horses as a technology, everything was by horsepower. And suddenly cars came and the horse industry just went upside down because nobody needs it anymore. But you would evolve. And so instead of being afraid of it, embrace it and use it to your advantage.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that. Then, Paul, there's a question I asked earlier, which is around how do I get started in this journey? All right. Somebody mentioned something in the chat box. Let me quickly size that before bringing the question back up. David Kama says, I think AI is more of a helping hand in making our jobs easier and better. All right. So to Paul's point earlier, instead of being afraid of what AI can do, be the master of AI, be the one that controls AI, be the one that uses AI. I'm bringing it to the power of, because the conversation right now is slightly turning into AI, which I'm also interested in, but talking about data as well. um, be the one in the organization who understands data. All right. You are a marketer, you are a salesperson, you are the MD, whatever your role is, be the one who uses data to make decisions in your own space, in your own unit. See, you can be making a call to somebody. I think you're giving this example. Do I'm not a salesperson per se. No, I don't. I know I can't say that any longer. That is no longer my name. I'm a salesperson now. I'm a salesperson now. So if I spend 5 minutes on a call and someone else spends 2 minutes on a call, right, to convince somebody to buy the same thing, the question is what's that person doing differently, and how can I learn that? But if you don't understand that from a data point of view, you don't say that, oh, I made 100K, the person made 100K, but you are spending more time making the same 100K. The person is spending is more efficient. The person can make 200K within the same time where you made 100K. So you be the one that understands how the data around these things work. And if you need pointers around these things, the rest of the community is open. Please ask your question. Paul is there. I'm there. We have so many other data leaders in there as well. We'll be able to take your questions and answer them as clearly as possible. And as Paul said, he's available to be. Well, you say you're available to be hired, right?
I am available to be hired. But on a more serious note, I am available, so you can reach out to me. I love having. I don't know, maybe you might have picked up on it, but I love having these kinds of conversations. So please feel free to reach out to me on the Resta community on LinkedIn, and let's have more discussions. The more people we can have having these kinds of discussions, the more awareness we can have in and around the use of data.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So to my question earlier, Paul, I I am I am a novice. I'm a professional. Sorry, let me start from being a professional. I'm already working today, right? I have made some money. I've tasted blood, right? So starting a new career is not my goal. It's not my goal right now. Well, how do I start this journey, right? Where do I start from? Just give me in simple steps. What do I do from tomorrow morning to start this journey? Don't tell me what I will do in 5 years' time. Tell me what I will start doing from tomorrow morning.
Well, the first thing you need to do tomorrow morning is to ask yourself genuinely, why is it that you are getting into this thing? What are the reasons for why you are? And I say this a lot. Make a list. What are the benefits? What are the reasons? What are your drivers for trying to get into it? Then understand where you are. Where are you currently? Are you completely zero? Are you a 2 on the scale of 1 to 10? Are you a 5? Or are you a 10 and you feel like you have reached the ceiling and you don't know where to go? Understanding these things about yourself will let you know where you need to jump into on the entire data journey.
Okay. All right, Paul. No, 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 Paul. Okay, I hear you on that one. I understanding where I am on the data journey is great, but Paul, I need to start. You say you told us today to be curious and get started about using data to make our lives better. Okay, I know where I am today. These people are professionals. They already know some of these things. So what then can they start doing? How can they start applying these things in their day-to-day life? What do they need to start doing even if it's an MD here or a CEO or a data or an analyst or
Mm.
somebody that just needs to start using data today, what do they need to start doing? Okay,
I'm
maybe
very
tomorrow
glad.
was too quick. Bring it back to Monday then. What
No,
did it have to do on Monday morning?
tomorrow is
What?
fine. Now let me explain a little bit. I'm very glad
Yeah.
that you mentioned different jobs and different titles, different positions that people can hold, and it depends on where you are. In order to a CEO, for example, doesn't have the time and the effort to start doing SQL and understand it. If you have the time, actually do it. But I just imagine that people that are very busy, people, decision makers, leaders, founders, CEOs, they're going to jump in at a different level from someone that is trying to become a data analyst, from someone that is trying to become a data scientist, from someone that is trying to become a data leader. So it depends on where you are in this journey. If we had more time, my notes broke it down already. Okay, if this is where you are, this is what you need to do. If this is where you are, this is what you need to do. Maybe if we get the chance to do this again, we can deep dive into the different levels of where people find themselves in the data journey and what they need to do in order to take themselves from one level to the next.
Awesome.
So it's
So
not as
you know
if
what you're
I'm
going to do.
avoiding answering the
Yeah,
question.
I
It's a
understand that.
multifaceted question, and it's going
I
to
understand.
require, a lot.
So what we are going to do then is this. Can I then beg you on behalf of the community to make that your that subset of your note? I'm not asking you to give me all of your notes. That subset of your notes, right? Can we make that your notes a holy grail for us in this community? Can you share with the community so that that particular subset, everyone can then go in there, read up about their different levels at the moment, of understand where they are in the space, and then they can ask follow-up questions from there. Just that subset. How about that?
Absolutely. I can definitely do that.
All right. See, as I said earlier, if you allow me, I'm going to have this conversation. This data conversation, I can never get tired of having it. All right. But I know we really need to. You all are professionals, and you have time. You have time set up for different things. I wouldn't want to keep you here longer than it should be. Okay. But it's been really, really interesting speaking to Paul today about this. I know I know nobody's calling me to stop. I'm saying that I'm calling that out myself. I know nobody's calling me to stop, but I know that we also need to make this a valuable session so we don't leave here with nothing. Let's leave here with something, okay? Paul today has told us over and over again, you need to be curious. Regardless of where you are on this journey, you need to be curious. Just ask the question about something. He talked about being able to understand basic statistics. And the example he gave, I would like to water it down further. You don't even need to understand mean as a name. You don't let that word scare you. As long as you can understand, you buy something at 200 naira, you sell it at 250. You already know how much you've made on top of that, right? That's what he means by basic statistics. Okay, then you cannot take it a step further and say, okay, how much are people spending with me on the average? That is what he meant by mean. If you take these whole things and you divide it, then you can get what your average spend is. So these are things you would get used to. So you don't have to go back to the classroom. So you don't, even if you are scared of numbers, as it's usually put, you don't have to be scared of it. It's the same numbers you're already used to. Okay, so understanding or appreciating um, basic statistics, as they called it, or basic mathematics, is important. So just understand your numbers from the simplest point of view. The assignment we all have today is please go back, open your bank statement, see what your bank statement says concerning you. We're already in the 6th month of the year. Take your January to date. If your bank allows you to download that, take your January to date, download it to Excel, and see what it looks like. If you don't know where to go to from there, as soon as you download it, chat up. Just drop a question in the Repstar community, and someone will definitely be available to guide you. So you can start answering some questions, even beginning from your personal life. Then you can start answering questions for your business. And Paul says he's going to share with us something that will a kind of a guide on you checking where you are on this journey and then know what you need to do next. Okay. So I'll push for us to have another session. I'll work with the team behind the scenes to make sure we have another session with Paul, and we can obviously take these conversations even a step further. Thank you very much, Paul, for the insight. Thank you very much, the Resta community, for this opportunity to anchor. This has been a pleasure. I'd love to have this again. And at this juncture, I don't know who I'm supposed to hand it over to. Uzoma, you don't hand it over to me. Are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm still on the call. Don't worry, you can hand it
All
back
right.
to me.
All right.
Okay.
So back to
This
you.
has been a
Back to you, Uzoma. It's
very,
been a pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, thank you very much, Emmanuel. This has been a really insightful and eye-opening AMA session for me. I like to think it has been an insightful session for others on the call as well, as it has been able to clear a lot of fog surrounding the field of data. So I hope all of you learned a whole lot of things, and it has been amazing delivery, Paul.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. And thank you for spending your Saturday evening with me. You can now go back into the streets.
Well, so on an ending note, for those of you that would like to connect with Paul, his LinkedIn handle has been posted on the chat. Whether you're a data beginner or an expert, you're free to reach out to him for guidance. And from his demeanor, you will know that he'll be more than happy to help you on your data journey. If there's any one of you in this call who is not a member of the Repstar community, the link to join the Repstar community is also on the chat. We also have social media handles as posted on the chat as well, so feel free to join. Thank you so much, Paul, for your time. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for moderating, and thank you to the wonderful audience for your contributions and the success of this event. That marks the end of this session. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening,
Thank you.
everyone.